All right. Today, Mike, I've got a bone to pick with you.
Oh,
Generally
no.
speaking, when I follow One Rental at a Time and Mike Zuber, I agree we're aligned. There's something recently that I've heard, and I think that although it's got good intention on your behalf, it
Mhm.
might be causing some people to stand in the batter's box for too long, um, swing their hearts out trying to hit home runs. And what's happening is I'm looking at some files I have, some pre-approval, some people I've talked to, or within the One Rental at a Time community that have literally been analyzing and looking for the greatest deal of all time since
Mm,
2020. And so my bone to pick with you, Mike, is only great deals. Agreed. We might want to put good in there. And especially if someone's never done a real estate transaction, um, let me clarify. I don't want you to buy just any deal. I don't want you to buy an alligator. I've
yeah.
suffered that before, but I also don't want you to be so dead set that you hit an absolute grand slam that you
Yeah.
don't buy real estate for 5 years. Because the thing that me and you both know, Mike, and I know we're aligned here, the
Mm,
one of the most magic parts of real estate is how long you hold it. And
correct.
that clock doesn't start until you finalize the deal. So what do you got to say to defend yourself, buddy?
So, when in doubt, I go to, the best teacher I know, and that's Dion, right? He has just this amazing gift of teaching. It's his superpower. And something he constantly reminds me of, and I think what you're highlighting is sometimes it's hard to forget what it was like at the beginning, or I think he says it's hard to unknow what you already know. And you're right. I have said repeatedly this last year that only great deals. I've defined great deals, right? It's 3% higher than an average deal. But to your point, my first deal on Norris Drive wasn't a great deal, but it got me in the game. It was a good deal, right? It cash flowed a couple $100 a month. We did have that horrible beginning of a tenant, but the unit was fine. Once that was over, it cash flowed until I put on too much debt. That's a different story. But I think what you're highlighting is my focus on great deals, my bias for great deals is because I have a decade plus, 2 decades plus of experience. I I'm frankly at a different stage of life. I've got what I've got and I'm good if I don't do anything else. So if I'm going to add something to the portfolio, it has to be great. So there's a biasy there. Um, there's certainly when you call me out on this, an acknowledgement that maybe my pushing great deals is causing people to pass on good deals, and maybe that's not okay. I don't know, but to your point, I guess what bothers me is if you've been in the game 6 days and you think you found a good or great deal, in my experience, you haven't. You don't, something in your spreadsheet's wrong. But to your point, if you've been in the batter's box for 5 years and you're letting good pitches go by, good deals go by, there's that's not okay either, to your point. Um, so yeah, I guess to kind of put stuff around this to allow people to ask themselves, are they too early or are they too late? Is if you've been in the batter's box and you know what it so the key is if you know what an average deal is. Until you know what an average deal is, you haven't done the work. You know, you can't play. But once you know average, which takes 90 days, I get your point, I guess. Yeah, it would that sucks.
Well, yeah, and that's why too, because I know the whole community, you, every all of us involved, we're rooting for people to win, and
Right.
so it breaks my heart when I see something where it might have been because I've seen it firsthand. I'm like involved in these offers. I'm not paying a dollar more than 510.
Right.
And
They
that
know
was
the numbers. Yeah.
2021, right? Like if
Right.
you would have paid 515, I promise you, whether it's Norris Drive, whether it's my first deal, like if I paid $2,500 more, $7,500 more, it wouldn't have mattered. What mattered more
Mm.
than anything was I got in the game. And so
Right.
average deal is 3. You're looking for 7. This one pencils at 6.5, but you like the neighborhood. You want to get started. You've got the means. You're ready. I'm saying, I think you
Yeah.
go do it at 6.5 for the experience, because there's something about that first
Yeah.
deal. My first true investment outside of my primary residence was an absolute alligator.
Mm,
In retrospect, if I wouldn't have got all the lessons I've got from those in Alabama, I wouldn't have bought the home runs I bought in 2019.
mm.
And so, those cost me a little, but the lessons I learned allowed me to recognize a pitch that I could hit over the fence.
Yeah. I do think there's a lot of truth in this. Again, I, as someone who believes in one rental at a time, has factual evidence that it works, wants to encourage people simply to get to 4, right? I'm not the bigger is better guy. I agree with you. This notion of only great deals that I carry today probably is biased on where my portfolio is, right? I don't need another one, but if I'm going to add one, it's going to be great. I have forgotten what singles feel like, singles and doubles, right? To continue the baseball analogy, which, let's be clear, I wouldn't be here today if we don't do Norris Drive. Just wouldn't be here today. But yeah, to the kind of round this out, alligators are always bad, in my opinion. I
Agreed.
don't believe in betting on appreciation, especially for your first deal, right? Don't go backwards. But yeah, I think at some point people got to look themselves in the mirror and go, it's been long enough. And I think everybody has to decide for themselves. I would tell you 5 years is long enough, right? You're not going anywhere with that. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Grant
that's a
yourself a
fair.
little wiggle room. I think that's what
Yeah.
the message I want people to have is like, you would never say it. I would never say it. Like, I look at some deals that people are putting together and I give them my honest opinion. Like, this
What are
is
you
minus
doing?
$700 a month once you factor in like what it's truly going to
Yeah.
cost. Like,
Yeah.
you don't throw 150 grand at something that's going to cost you $700 a month. In no
No.
universe does that make sense. But if you're analyzing a deal and you're stuck over 2,500 or 5 grand or 7% versus 6.5, you
Yeah.
might want to do it for the experience, because there's something to the experience of
Oh,
doing a
agreed.
deal
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
this magic light bulb comes on. You're like, you know what? That wasn't that hard. I can do
Yeah.
that again. And then
That's
through
fair.
managing it, through, renting it and turning tent, like, you just learn stuff that you can't learn without it. And
Mm-hmm.
then looking back, how much regret does that person who didn't buy in 21 have? Like, holy moly, I can't believe I let this deal slide because it didn't fit the home run box I was trying to fit it in. If I would have
Right.
paid another 10 grand, the stuff I
Right.
bought in 20 and 21, just because, mainly, quite honestly, because of the financing and how great the terms were,
Yeah.
have turned into great deals. I don't know if you also want to talk about inventory, Mike, but
Yeah. Do it.
I got some inventory stats because, like I said, we align on a lot of stuff. And I always think it's funny you can make stats say anything, right? And so you can talk 9.1 months of inventory, and that's the latest thing from the Crash Bros is, let's
Yeah.
count friggin' permits and non-starts and completed construction. Let's just count it all. We'll call
It's
it
not at
9
all is the
months
same.
of inventory. Um, this I had this thought this morning, and this is kind of separate from the inventory thing, but it's related. Thank God rates are 7%. Like, if rates were 5%, home prices would go up 15 to 20% a year. I'm convinced,
Oh,
because I look at inventory. I'm looking at Sacramento. And I pulled up, the Fred economic data. And here's a cool, fun little thing. January of 24, 1,800 homes for sale in Sacramento. Today in June, 2890,
up
over
50%.
50%, whatever,
Yeah.
55%. Inventory's up 55% in Sacramento. Everything's got to be on sale. The sky is falling, right? Then you look back and you spread it out over 6 years and you get some context. And you think to yourself, well, of course, inventory is lowest in the January winter months, and then it increases and then it comes back down. Does that every year. But then you go back to like 2016, where the number's 6,000, double what it is today. And so historical average is 5,000. We're half
Mm.
of the historical average, but we're up 55% from January. So if I wanted to scare you, or I wanted to make a case for Sacramento real estate is crashing, inventory is up 55% just in 2024. That stuff is
Yeah,
funny, man.
the
The
story
stats,
writes itself.
right.
Yeah, the other thing that's really funny, and again, I've been calling this for over a year, and now people are seeing it, and that is, I, I don't know if you have the. Can you search in Sacramento right now, or
Yeah.
you just have the summary data
Well, you talking about searching for
above
specific?
and below the median?
Oh
Like,
no.
yeah, because so I got this from I want to say Scott, but I might be wrong. I'm going Chris, I think. I went away. A follower of ours. He was. I gave him accurate highlights on the daily financial news. He's in Lynchburg, which I think is in Virginia, but it might be in Tennessee. I don't know where it is. Lynchburg.
Yeah. I've
And the
heard of
median home price.
Lynchburg, Tennessee.
Yeah. So the median home price is 275. Guess what? Active listings. 1/3 of active listings are below the median. 2/3 are above the median. So what does that tell you? That tells you the first time home buyer entry level stuff's not selling. The housing market's broken. It's also telling you that the motivated sellers above the median are going to have price cuts. That's why we have record price cuts at 38%. That's also going to tell you why transactions are going to crash. It's also telling you that transactions are going to crash and the median home price is going to go up.
Right.
That's
Right.
just how the median home price is calculated, folks. You can argue with it all day you want, but it's just math.
Right. Yeah. If 2/3 of the stuff that's selling is more expensive, I'm no rocket scientist, but it's gonna pull the average up, pull the median up too.
Crazy. It's crazy stuff. But yeah, it's fun watching the Crash Bros geek out over this 9.1 month supply. And it's really funny that finished product only 99,000 homes or 1.4 month supply. But of course, we have to count even homes not started in supply. How dishonest is that? That's crazy.
Right. Yeah. And here's where I want to tell people, like, some of the stuff that you're hearing and some of the cooling housing market stuff is actually true. It's getting softer. I've
Yeah.
got a buyer who's negotiating. We're going to be somewhere in the range of 8% off of list price on a
Hey,
well-priced home in a nice neighborhood, where that's the other
nice.
thing too, is like something that's wildly overpriced in an area no one wants, you might get a 15% discount.
Mm,
On something that is in a great area, like, don't expect to get a wild discount. That's the other part too, where I see some unrealistic investors, and I can already project, I'll talk to you in 26 and we'll
mm,
be talking about this great deal that you're still searching for.
yeah.
And so there's deals to be had. Be realistic.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a realtor on the podcast yesterday. Great conversation about, like, if you're having trouble getting an offer accepted, if you're having trouble in this real estate market, it's one of two things: you're getting bad advice, or you're getting good advice and you're not listening.
Ah,
One of those two things. And more often than not, Mike, like, great realtor partners I work with, they're like, listen, this client told me exactly what they wanted. We found it. We negotiated better terms than we thought we'd be able to get based on all the conversations, and they still didn't go for it. That's
mm,
good advice that you're not taking for one
yeah.
reason or another, which, there is a level of uncertainty out there. Election, economy, all of that. The best thing to prepare yourself is to educate yourself.
Yep.
Get better than your average bear. That gives you confidence. Knowledge
I love
drives
it.
confidence. And so that's what the whole one rental at a time school community is. Like, we're giving you the education so you can go out there with confidence.
Yeah, the school community is awesome. Not only the education, the free stuff, the weekly calls, but the community. The community is starting to get large enough where it's feeding on itself and growing. Um, Nothing like being around 200 other individuals going in the same directions. It's pretty awesome.
Yep.
If somebody wanted to reach out to you, get a quote, ask questions, what are we doing?
Go to greatmortgagebroker.com. We're licensed in 48 states. We're happy to help. So just fill out that quick form, greatmortgagebroker.com. It's the fastest way to get in touch with us. And a quick shout out for the school community. Last Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. This month, it'll be July 26th. I've got a cool idea this month, Mike, because I think I've started to show it to clients, and I don't think enough people understand. You don't call and say, what's my rate? There's a whole rate stack. and I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to tell somebody, give me your FICO score, your down payment, and then let's open it up. And we'll see
There you
that
go.
7.625 is no cost, 7.1 cost a point. And so it's not what's my rate. It's like, what rate do you want? And let's
Yeah,
talk
exactly.
about what might lead you to say, you know what? Let's go 7.6. I don't want to pay any points. I think I'm gonna be able to refinance this thing in the future. The 32-month break even for 7.1 may or may not make sense. So
I like it.
that's in the school community. That's going to be fun. And then for me and my
Yeah.
team, greatmortgagebroker.com.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Mike.